The 2024 presidential election in the United States was just held, and the winner was Donald J. Trump. Now, this video will be about why Donald Trump won the election again despite being so unpopular. I think that the reason is pretty simple. People want change, the Democrats refuse to give them change, and the Democrats have abandoned the working class. Now, of course, neither party has ever really stood for the working class. Both parties has always stood for the billionaire class and for their interests. But the Democrats used to try to eliminate poverty a lot. They used to be very focused on workers' rights, on labor unions, and that sort of stuff. But recently they have abandoned that and gone in for a more neoliberal free markets with some government intervention approach instead of a workers' rights with capitalism approach, which was their old approach. And this has obviously led to them alienating their working class base. We used to have Bernie Sanders, who ran in the 2016-2020 Democratic primaries, but what basically happened was that the Democrats rigged it against him, and this alienated the working class supporters even further because Bernie Sanders stood for the working class, with the working class, and the Democrats didn't like that because that scared away billionaire donors, which are the type of people they want. So, in order to get more billionaire donors, the Democrats have shifted to the right economically. They are mostly focused on pretty irrelevant culture war topics, and fiscally, they've actually been quite conservative. They haven't been quite on the level of the Republicans, but they oppose free healthcare, they oppose free college tuition. That has obviously led to support for them decreasing. Whereas the Republicans have really, really gotten this sort of frustration that many working class people have. And they do it in a fairly good way by nominating Donald Trump. Trump, he makes himself out to be this sort of warrior of the people against the establishment, even though he himself is a part of the elite. He's a billionaire, friends with Bill Clinton, all that sort of stuff. He is a part of the establishment, just to be clear, okay? But he tries to sort of make himself seem like the people's hero, even though he only cares about himself. And this has actually attracted working class voters. The fact that he at least pretends like he cares. He speaks in a way that resonates with them. He always says a major fuck you to all this sort of normal, polite politics. He goes and rails against the establishment. He says that he's gonna put Hillary Clinton in jail, he said that in 2016. Now he won again despite having a low approval rating. And the big reason for that is that people hate Biden. People hate how the country is going. People hate the status quo. And the Kamala Harris campaign was about maintaining the status quo, having more of the same. America is great, even though it's not. America isn't great. Like, healthcare costs are the highest in the world. It costs a fortune to go to university. Good luck getting to university if you're like a poor member of the working class, because you're not getting in. You're gonna stay in that whole bad circle, the evil circle, I guess you could say it. I don't know, in Swedish it's called Onda cirkeln. And why? Because I just mentioned I'm Swedish. Well, the reason that I care about this, if I'm Swedish, is because I'm a massive nerd, and because this isn't just about America. The same thing is happening in my country. The same thing are happening in many other countries. We have this sort of establishment liberal politician against this sort of right-wing populist demagogue, and the demagogue always wins amongst working class voters, like very working class voters, because the working class, who typically tend to be left wing, are tired of the status quo. They don't want the status quo. They don't want so high healthcare costs. They don't want low wages. They want high wages and work in a lower time period. The Democrats don't seem to represent this. They don't represent higher wages, lower working hours. The Republicans don't either, and they don't even try to represent that. But at least the Republicans represent an opposition to the status quo, a sort of new thing, a sort of like they're gonna make America great again. Like if you have this group of people, they have it horrible, they live in poverty, and you tell them that one candidate tells them, "Oh, I'm gonna keep America great," and the other tells them, "America has lost its core values. It has been infiltrated by all these sort of people, and now we gotta come back and make America great again." They're obviously gonna vote for to do this, and it's gonna make America great again because they know that things are shit, and that guy says that they're shit, while the other guy or like girl or whatever says, "Oh no, things aren't shit. Things are actually great," even though they clearly aren't. If you spent like any time looking at statistics, like me, or if you actually an American and has been there on the ground. Um, because let's be honest, America isn't great. A small elite controls a massive portion of the country's wealth, and Bernie Sanders and other politicians try to deal with this. They try to sort of handle this, but the DNC refuses to cooperate with them. The DNC seems to want to moderate even more of this election. I saw one Democrat pundit who said, "Oh yeah, well, we should moderate more after this election." Well, no, no one wants more moderation. No one wants more status quo. Things are shit. People say that things are shit because things are shit. And you guys seriously say that you guys are going to give them more of the status quo. The whole reason you lost in the first place was because you were moderate, okay? Don't get even more moderate. The whole reason you lost was because you weren't populist enough, basically. That's what it comes down to. Populism is what wins nowadays because people are sick and tired of the elite. People are sick and tired of the establishment. This doesn't mean that right wing populists will actually fix anything. I don't think Trump will really make anything better. I don't think it will make America great again, whatever again is supposed to mean. And I think that the only guy who could really, save America is no one. I don't think one person can save America. I don't think one person can make America great. I don't think this about my own country or Sweden. I don't think a fucking Messiah is gonna come up and save Sweden from the broken healthcare system, like completely broken, not like yours, but like it's going downhill to say the least. I don't think any messiah is really gonna come down and just fix everything because that's not how society works. No one man just comes up out of nowhere and then saves the world. This isn't a Marvel movie or whatever. This is real life. The way that things have been is that the people have fought for something to become better, and then eventually the people in power have been forced to do that, or we have sent them to the guillotine. That's basically it. We threaten the people in power that, okay, if you guys don't improve stuff, we will send you to the guillotine. And then either they improve stuff or they don't improve stuff. And most of the time, they don't improve stuff, we send them to the guillotine. And I guess that is what's going to happen again. Not necessarily the guillotine part, but the things are going to get slightly better through mass movements and through trade unions and all that sort of stuff. Lives are going to get improved in the future if the people manage to organize against the rich and powerful elite, and if the people actually gets to elect someone who cares about them, not like Kamala Harris, who Kamala Harris doesn't care about the people, or like Donald Trump. Well, Donald Trump actually cares less about the people. He just pretends like he cares. I don't know if he really pretends, but at least he talks down to the establishment about he's gonna give you some revenge. Like, what revenge is he even gonna give you? What kind of what are who are you in his enemies? Like what? The enemies that he has aren't the rich and powerful. His enemies is anyone who don't want him to have total control. Because Trump's motives is he wants to be in center, he wants to have all the power in his hand, and anyone who doesn't want him to have all this power in his hand, they are bad and they are his enemies. That's his sort of psyche. That's his enemy. People who don't want him to have all the control. Trump is a part of the rich and powerful elite. As I say, he was friends with Jeffrey Epstein, Bill Clinton, all these other disgusting people. He was friends with Hillary Clinton, a disgusting human being. And he's a total piece of shit. Together with Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and all these politicians in the United States because you guys have some really screwed up politicians. It's pretty horrifying. I would say that at least in Sweden, our politicians are a bit more grounded, a bit more human. That's so I know that your politicians aren't lizards, but you get what I mean. Our politicians are more non-psychopathic, you could say, but they still have their problems like corruption and that sort of stuff. This whole thing where we have this liberal status quo guy and this populist fascist light guy battle each other about in an election is a very common thing, and I'm really sick and tired of it because, well, I guess if I had to choose, I'd choose the liberal things are great now guy, but I hate them too. No, let's not use hate, but I feel a certain degree of disgust toward dislike towards them, but I feel an even greater dislike towards the fascist lights. Like they're not going to improve anything. They don't actually care about me. They don't want to improve my life in any way. So how can Democrats win back power? Well, I think Bernie Sanders got it really right. I mean, if you look at where his donations came from, they came from regular people. It was the one who got the most donations from regular people. He has the highest favorability rating of any politicians. He easily wins the Vermont elections, and the only reason they really lost in the primary was because the DNC, well, in 2016, they gave unfairly amounts of money to Hillary Clinton, rigged it in certain ways, and then in 2020 we had literally every single politician going out and supporting Biden, the entire establishment going to against Bernie, the media went against Bernie, everyone, it was the entire establishment versus Bernie. Of course, he lost. It takes a hell of a lot to beat the entire establishment, which Trump didn't do. Sure, Trump had some media against him. He had like the CNN was against him, the MSNBC was against him, but Fox News was for him. And Fox News is the most popular news. So like he has a lot of billionaire donors, and that's obviously going to help a lot. Sure, Donald Trump doesn't quite have quite as much support amongst the establishment as Kamala Harris, but he has way more support amongst the establishment than Bernie Sanders. What the Democrat Party had to do in order to beat people like Trump is offer change, actually improve the lives of the people materially, cancel the student debt, focus on improving their wages, increasing the minimum wage, really focus on this sort of stuff, and increasing funding for healthcare, um, and some wealth redistributive policies from the top 1% to the rest, because currently the top 1% have way too much wealth. I think it would be ridiculous to say that they don't have. I mean, they own like nearly half of all of America's wealth. In the globally, they also own about half of the wealth, the global 1%. And that's just too much. We can't have people living in the streets barely, not affording a fucking home, while other people have billions of dollars. We can't have people who work hard day out and day in, and they can barely afford to pay their bills. I think that's unacceptable. We can't have certain people who, sure, they may work slightly hard, but they make billions of dollars off mainly other people's work. We can't have people like Jeff Bezos. Like, do you really think that Jeff Bezos made all those money himself? It was the workers who made it for him. It was the workers who produced all the material. It was the workers who built up Amazon. Sure, Jeff Bezos played some role in it, but should you really have $180 billion? Shouldn't some of that go to the workers? I think a lot of people would say that, yeah, the workers should get some of that money. The workers should get high wages and so on and so forth. The capitalist system we live in. It's ridiculous, frankly. And the Democrats, well, I saw some Democrat on TV saying that, oh yeah, the reason, some people seem to think that the reason the Democrats lost was because of trans people. That's not the reason. I don't think that many people actually care about that question, that issue. Like, I don't think that's the case. I think the reason they lost, as I've said before, is because they support the status quo. People don't like the status quo. Donald Trump was opposed to the status quo. People vote for Donald Trump. It's pretty simple. If you have this guy who has lived his entire life in poverty, and you tell him, "Oh, actually, this country is great, and you should be grateful, and you should vote for us," and they have this other guy who says, "It's not great. I'm gonna make it great like it was before," he's gonna choose the second option. Like, especially if he's not educated. I'll end this by saying some some truth that I think a lot of us need to hear now. One single person is not going to fix this. The people don't need a messiah. The people doesn't need like one person just comes from nowhere and saves them. The people should say, we should save ourselves. We should organize together in trade unions, for example, in civil rights movements, and so on and so forth. That is the way we beat the billionaire class. That's the way we beat these politicians. That's the way we beat the media. That's the way we beat the entire establishment. It's through mass organizations. It's through actually pushing for change. It's through political parties and so on and so forth. It's not through just putting one candidate and seeing if he can just fix it when he's president. Because that's not how it works. Like even if, for instance, was elected, he wouldn't be able to just fix America like he's some sort of wizard or something. It demands a movement. It demands people uniting together in a common cause. Thank you for listening.